Hey folks, Real Honesty with John Ritlin. I'm John Ritlin. This is a 20-year reflection of two Monday Night War episodes, Raw and Nitro, respectively, from September 22nd, 1997. Now, I'm recording these ahead of time, as I've said. I'm going to be working 10 straight days. And even if I get a chance to shoot a couple other shows, it's not going to happen that often. Like a lot of the, my opinions on breaking news and all that stuff may not end up happening. I might still do a questions for me show if I have time, but my Raw, SmackDown reviews and my No Mercy review will still happen, so don't worry. Those shows are going to be fine. But I'm going to be really busy. In fact, I'm going to be really busy for about the next 2 weeks, so I won't really have the most time. But anyway, so I do hope you guys enjoy these shows, and I will also do 2 other reflection shows I will try to find time to record sometime maybe during the weekend. Of the September 26, 2002 edition of SmackDown, and a 40-year reflection of a WWE MSG show took place in 1977 this month. So anyway, so look out for those. But anyway, here we get on with this. This took place in Madison Square Garden, the Raw that I'm going to review here. And this one's pretty famous for a couple of reasons. So, that I've covered before in other videos briefly. So I may kind of skip over some stuff. I will say, however, that I believe Raw won here with their with a couple of the story arcs that they had going. This one seemed to flow a little better. Nitro seemed to, while it started out fine, seemed to kind of lose it in the last hour, which was tradition. But anyway, there was a great video package on the MSG moments that took place. Which was really cool. The crowd was loud as fuck. They were loud as fuck, and it was awesome. Started off with Ahmed Johnson versus Rocky Maivia in an IC title first round match. IC title tourney first round match, because Austin had to relinquish the title because of the neck injury that he unfortunately suffered at SummerSlam. And the idea was, okay, Ahmed Johnson's been out since June. I mean, he'd been taken out with injury, so, oh crap, Ahmed Johnson's not going to get a chance to really, shake off any ring rust. Is that going to happen? Shockingly, Ahmed Johnson ended up winning. Ahmed Johnson's fucking terrible, by the way. Guy was terrible in 95, 96, 97, 98. He was even worse in WCW, but at that point, I think he gained so much damn weight. And lost what little ability he had that it was even worse in his WWE run. Yet somehow Ahmed Johnson won, which was just baffling to me. I mean, some of the stuff that happened in these tournaments and on some of these Raws is still a little fuzzy to me because I was much more of a Nitro fan back then. So I watched Raw on tape delay, like I would tape it and just watch it before I went to school, because at the time I was 16. But yeah, it was not very good. Then you had Austin, the crowd got a huge pop. Undertaker coming out for an interview, did the hype for Bad Blood. Shawn did the same, holding the European title, saying, "Oh, why don't you just give him a title shot? Well, I'm going to rise to the occasion like only I can, and I will not lose at in the first ever Hell in a Cell match." All that. And then LOD with Farouk and Kama. It was quick. It was a DQ because Rock and D'Lo ran in. It was throwaway. It was pretty throwaway. And I know it sounds like I'm crapping on this, but part of the reason that I'm saying that Nitro may have... Nitro, it was almost neck and neck at this point, even though the ratings weren't reflecting it, and Nitro was beating Raw quite handily in the ratings. But the story arcs were working a little bare in WWE. Some of the ones in Nitro, it's like they just threw matches together. But then Sunny was a ring announcer, of course, for the LOD thing, because that's what she wants. She wants the D, because that's what she always wants, because she's a whore. Ahmed Johnson runs in and botches. Shock of shocks. This is kind of a way to hype up the six-man tag of the Nation, and LOD and Shamrock are going to have Bad Blood in a couple weeks. And I will do a reflection on that event. I'll either do a reflection on that event, or I'll do a reflection on Brian Pillman's death, one of the two. Because I did a reflection on Brian Pillman's death back in 2015, but I figure a 20-year reflection, bring it to a close. Then Owen Hart versus Brian Pillman. It picked up a little bit because they started, they were they were just joking around because they were, Heart Foundation members, and Brian Pillman faked an injury, an arm injury that didn't work. Terry looked actually probably about as good as she ever looked. I guess Pillman and Terry used to date. I don't know if they were married. I don't remember that part, but I know they dated before. Dustin, Gold and Terry got together. But yeah, Terry looked really good here. It was nice. But Pillman and Owen Hart, of course, had a bit, more of a battle. Goldust runs in and attacks Pillman. It built to their match of Bad Blood that unfortunately wouldn't take place because Pillman would die the morning of Bad Blood. Or the night before. Or very early morning. I'm not exactly sure. And then, of course, Austin runs down. And Austin starts attacking Owen. And leads one of the most iconic moments in Austin's career. Leads up to that point. Where Vince is talking to Austin. Like, you got to work within the system. You got to do this. Oh, I'll work within your stupid little system. And I appreciate the fact that you and the World Wrestling Federation care. I also appreciate the fact that, hell, you can kiss my ass. I mean, I'm not going to try to do an Austin impression. But he kicks Vince, stuns him, massive pop. I mean, my God. One could argue that's almost where the Vince McMahon, Mr. McMahon character got born. Even though I think it had been building up for a little bit. That's really what started to kick off the rivalry. Because then by even the Royal Rumble, it was like, in full swing, the Vince-Austin feud. But yeah, then you go to Cactus Jack versus Triple H. But before, you have Dude Love in the Love Shack, the show that he hosts, talking to Mankind. Of course, Dude Love, Mankind, and Cactus Jack are the same thing, and thanks to the miracles of photography and special effects, they were able to have all three guys there. Yeah, Dude Love talking to Mankind, and Mankind said, I'm going to introduce somebody to you. It's going to take down Triple H. Who is he? Cactus Jack. And Cactus Jack, the pop was unbelievable. Huge pop in New York. Of course, they chanted ECW because, they like that trash. Kidding. Anybody that likes ECW, you guys aren't trash. You guys aren't trash. I just thought ECW a lot of times was. But cool if people really like it. Cactus Jack, of course, beat Triple H. Great match. It was short for what it was, but it was a nice way to kind of cap off their feud. I don't think they feuded much after this. If they might have feuded at Bad Blood, I don't quite remember. It was good, though. It was good stuff. Cactus got the win. Certainly no complaints. And then, of course, Shawn Michaels is calling out The Undertaker. Of course, DX runs out and attacks The Undertaker. Well, Shawn runs out and attacks The Undertaker. You had a whole bunch of stuff happen. Basically, where it was just building to Bad Blood. That's really all it was. It certainly wasn't bad, and it certainly was a good way to build up quite a few of the matches because they only had a couple weeks between the one night only show and Bad Blood. I think Bad Blood took place on the 5th of October. So, at least if I recall right. I mean, I know I said it a little bit earlier, but I think it was the 5th. The 6th was a Raw, so yeah, it was the 5th. But anyway, DX attacks Taker. Okay, cool. Well, before they were DX, or they were, I don't know. Goldust and Brett. It was decent. I mean, Shawn appears on stage. Got all that heat between Shawn and Brett. It was still decent for what it was. I mean, of course, it was a brawl, brawl at the end. Taker ends up chokeslamming Brett and Shawn, and it ends the show fine with Taker looking strong. And it was good because it told a good story with all these people. It told a good story with all these people, all these storylines. Yeah, some of the matches were a little bit short, but that's what you're going to get with Vince Russo's writing. Clearly, somebody else must have wrote the show because there's no way that Russo could have wrote something this coherent because he doesn't know what coherency is. Probably can't even spell it without throwing bro after every letter. But then we go to WCW Nitro, which had, and now mind you, I just want to say this much: there were 5 matches on that episode of Raw, a 2-hour show. Nitro, which I think went over about 5-10 minutes. Because Raw was like 90 minutes, 91 minutes. Nitro was 103 minutes, so it was 13 minutes longer. I guess they had an overrun. 9 matches. 3 matches that took place before we even got to 30 minutes. I mean, come on. I mean, yeah, of course, the announcers and Eric Bischoff have a war of words, which was fine. I mean, it was leading to Zbyszko getting back in the ring eventually because the crowd really wanted to see that, and also because they built up Zbyszko's character well, and they knew that he was a good wrestler. Then you start out with Ray versus Silver King. Decent. It wasn't anything great. It really wasn't. I mean, it was a typical cruiserweight match, but certainly not bad. Ray wins. Then Ray attacks Eddie afterwards, built up to their match at Halloween Havoc, which, yes, I will do a 20-year reflection on Halloween Havoc. Halloween Havoc 97. Might even do a 25-year one on 1992, which was also a pretty good addition. And then Hugh Morris versus a young up-and-comer named Goldberg. Of course, it was Bill Goldberg's debut. And you've seen him before. Bill Goldberg manages to beat him. Kicks out, no laughing matter moonsault. Pretty good. Goldberg wins. Okay, fine, whatever. Whatever. I mean, I never care. Hugh Morris's character never did anything for me. The Nitro Girls only had a few good-looking women. You can probably guess which ones I found good-looking and which ones I didn't. Whatever. I'm glad the ladies got on TV. They really should have only danced. They should have never been involved in storylines because it was pointless. It just felt forced. But anyway, then you have actually probably the best match of the night as far as like decent storytelling. Alex Wright versus Disco Inferno for the TV championship. Both of them had teamed up a bit before, but were having their battles. And shockingly, Disco Inferno managed to win. Shockingly. Because they went for a double move, like a double splash. They were going to like hit in the corner. Or no, they were going to like hit in the middle of the ring. And of course, Disco ends up falling on Alex 1, 2, 3. Which, I forgot that Disco won the TV championship. Which killed some credibility of the TV title. Because, sorry, Disco, even though he wasn't a terrible wrestler, it was a terrible gimmick. And the guy was shit. So, not a bad wrestler, but the guy was just a shit person. So, whatever. He won it. Cool, though. It was a cool, shocking moment. It was really nice. Then Jacqueline. Not Miss Jackie. Well, I mean, the one that got inducted into the Hall of Fame recently. The talented one. Not Jackie Gata. Or Jackie Haas. All due respect to her. She just wasn't that good. She's talking to Disco. And this led to a match that they would have a little bit later on a pay-per-view. It wasn't good. Scott Hall versus Hector Garza. Scott Hall run down Larry Zbyszko and this kind of stuff, and run down Lex Luger and done a whole bunch of stuff, and nobody can beat me straight up or whatever. And Hector Garza manages to beat him in like a minute and a half. Which was shocking. It was really, really shocking. I did not see that coming. Or Scott Hall beats up Hector Garza afterwards, beats up the ref, gets his heat back, but Garza still got the win. It's kind of cool. A little shocking. I mean, Garza got squashed right after, but whatever, he still got the win. And then you had a pretty fun match. It was all cruiserweights all the time. Well, luchadors specifically. It's Psychosis, La Parca, Viana 4 and 5 versus Liz Mark Jr., Ultimo Dragon, Ciclope, and Juventud Guerrera. Hoovy, masked Hoovy. Should have kept the mask on. Looked like an idiot with it off. It was a fun car wreck, basically, is what it was. Just dive all over the place. I'm not saying there wasn't any psychology to it, because you got to have the ability to really lock in some moves and hit that time and hit those well timed. But yeah, it's a bit more of a car wreck. It was ridiculous, but it was fun, and the faces won. Lismark, Ultimo, Ciclope, and Hoovy won. So cool. I mean, it was fun. It was a fun match. The Bash at the Beach 6-man luchador match involving some of these guys. In fact, I believe it had Hoovy, Lismark, Hector Garza versus Psychosis, La Parca, and one of the Vianos. I think it was Viana 4. And then Viana 5 came down and tried to win it for the team by switching because they had masks and everything and looked the same. And it didn't work. Hector Garza pinned him after a standing moonsault. Yeah, it was fun. Then you had Piper come out. And he talked about people that were injured. He hyped up his match with Hogan at Halloween Havoc 97. It was a terrible cage match. Why would you put two guys at that age in a cage match? whatever. I love Piper. And I do, and even though I don't respect the man Hogan, the man himself, I will say that Hulk Hogan, the wrestler, yeah, he was a big name in wrestling. He was one of the biggest names ever in wrestling. So yeah, I can get name value why they did it, but it was a terrible match. But Piper laid down the law because he was the acting commissioner. It was fine. Then you have the Faces of Fear versus Steiner Brothers. Decent, hard-hitting matchup. The Faces of Fear managed to get the win. Looked like Scott Steiner landed on his neck kind of badly. In fact, it looked really bad. But Faces of Fear got the win. Certainly no complaints because both teams are legit tough. And Ming terrifies me. 100%. Then Hogan and Bischoff, they hype up Hogan versus Piper. Again, Savage and Miss Elizabeth hype up DDP versus Savage at Halloween Havoc. Miss Elizabeth, my God, she got better with age. It was amazing. People could say, oh, people like Sunny or Sable or Deborah are beautiful. No, you can give me Miss Elizabeth 11 out of 10 times as opposed to those skanks. Especially Deborah, who was a garbage heap. And so was Sable. I mean, Sable, if people think Sable was attractive, people think Sunny was attractive, people think Deborah was attractive, fine. That's cool. I don't get it, but whatever. That's your opinion. Deborah was a garbage heap. Sable was a fucking train wreck trash heap. And Sunny, she was a sperm bucket. That's all she was. Anyway, enough of that. Enough ranting on the women. Miss Elizabeth, I'm not saying that Miss Elizabeth didn't have her own issues off camera. But on camera, Miss Elizabeth just glowed. She just looked great. And then Conan defeated Stevie Richards in the squash. Boy, Stevie Richards got destroyed by WCW. And then Raven attacked Stevie. I think Stevie was battling a neck injury, if I remember right. He had a neck injury in a match in ECW, left to join with Raven in WCW, and then was back in ECW by November or December of 97. Which is sad because Stevie, I mean, I think he could have done pretty well in WCW, and I think they should have kept him, but whatever. Savage beat him, though, quickly. Conan and Scott Norton were supposed to face Harlem Heat. Of course, Stevie Ray had suffered a knee injury. It was a knee injury or is it an Achilles injury? It was one of the two. I mean, I forget. That Achilles injury is what they gave the reason for. I don't remember if it was Achilles or if he just, if he suffered an injury and they just left it at that to write him off TV. Booker T, of course, won by DQ because Conan, Scott Norton, and Vincent, the terrible trash that he is, got in the ring. Vincent, by the way, Conan was fine in the ring. Scott Norton, legit tough. Booker T, world-class athlete. DQ match, though, or DQ finish, it was fine. It was fine. Then Jeff Jarrett and Kurt Hennig for the U.S. title. It was decent. Unfortunately, you had to have Deborah out there, and I'm sorry, Deborah might be nice. Might be. I don't know. She certainly didn't deserve to get beaten. Let me just make that clear. Her and Austin together. She didn't deserve to get beaten. But as far as being in wrestling, she was an embarrassment. She was an embarrassment. She was ugly. She was ugly. Still is, I'm sure. Anyway, Jeff Jarrett and Kurt Hennig. At one point, Jeff Jarrett gets knocked out by the title because Jeff Jarrett's got Kurt Hennig in the figure four. Savage runs down while the referee's distracted. Throws the U.S. title at Hennig. Hennig even has to alert Jeff by tapping on his foot so he can lean up and hit him with the title. I mean, you could see it. You can see him tapping his foot. Hennig tapping Jarrett's foot to tell him. Like as if to say, hey, time to go home for the finish. Hits him with the title. Hits the Hennigplex. NWO comes out and beats up on Jeff Jarrett. I think if this wasn't the last appearance of Jeff Jarrett, it was damn close. Because I know that Jarrett went back to WWE pretty soon after this. Anyway, see, the reason Raw gets the win here, I mean, as far as this, because the last one I did, the last 20-year reflection of Monday Night, Nitro and Raw episodes, they did. The reason Nitro won is Nitro was at 3 hours. I think it was like a special 3 hours anniversary show or something. And Raw was at 2 hours. And it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. This one, though, cracks were starting to show with WCW. Even though they had a ton of great talent. Cracks were starting to show, and some of the stories were and some of the matches were At least with WWE, they had a couple really good, solid, segments there, and a decent closing finish for the main event. Anyway, so that's what I gotta say. Do you agree? Do you disagree with what I said? Like, share, comment, subscribe. Twitter link is in the description. But Real Honesty with John Ritlin. I'm John Ritlin. I will see you soon.